Hey, everybody. It's a messed up hair. My hair's a disaster this morning. What is going on? Be honest, I haven't showered yet this morning. I'm going to lay it all out on the line. It's 8 a.m. My wife is sick, so she's sleeping. So I haven't been able to jump in the shower yet. But listen, I keep it real here. But it's a Thursday podcast. I had a crazy day yesterday. Sorry I missed the podcast yesterday, but I had to. Anyway, it's a crazy story, but I'm not going to get into it. Personal stuff that I couldn't do the podcast yesterday. But I'm back, and hopefully better than ever, or at least, solidly average. A lot to get to on a Thursday edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. But mostly we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, who had another exciting, crazy win over the Boston Celtics. They've now defeated the defending Eastern Conference champions twice in a week. We'll get to that, the atmosphere of the crowd, look ahead with the Cavs. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll get to some other things, a little bit on the Browns and the Thursday night football game and just the state of the NFL in general and a few other things. But it all begins with the Cavaliers. That's coming up right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Yes, indeed. The Cavaliers are 6-1. They've won 6 straight. Darius Garland comes back. You can tell his eye is still a little jacked up. You saw it if you watched the post game. You saw his eye is still a little swollen, but he was feeling well enough to play. Well, more than well enough. I mean, he was sensational. What an unbelievable performance by Darius Garland. Got off to the best first quarter of his career. How about that? Comes back from an injury and has the best scoring first quarter of his career. And he kind of cooled off a little in the middle of the game, got it going again late. He finishes the game with 29 points on 9 of 20 shooting, 5 of 11 from 3, and 6 of 7 from the field. 5 rebounds and 12 assists and 3 steals and only 1 turnover. He was phenomenal, and the amazing combination of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in their first game together, well, their first game together for the entire game, because obviously they played together in the opener before Darius got hurt in the second quarter, I think it was. The Cavs come out on top at home in front of what was an amazing crowd last night. Got to talk to my man Anthony from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, because he was at the game last night. I didn't go, but just hearing it on TV, and hearing the crowd, it sounded like it really felt like a playoff game. That was the atmosphere. And what's amazing is, I think the Cavs played far from a perfect game. Like for a lot of them, second quarter they didn't shoot the ball well. And really the first half of the third quarter, from the beginning of the second quarter to the 7-6 minute mark, whatever it was in the third quarter, they did not shoot the ball well. They were out of rhythm at times. I was reading Jason Lloyd's column, and Jason's going to be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show again today. And obviously, Jason has as good a feel for the Cavs in the NBA as anybody in this town. And Jason he's brought this up before, and he brought it up again in his column this morning at The Athletic. Check it out, where he talks about, Donovan and Darius have to get used to not doing this my turn, your turn thing. They're both used to having the ball in their hands. They're both used to creating and dominating the play, and they like each other, obviously, and they want to. Neither one wants to be selfish, because they're both great ball distributors, and so sometimes, two great players, you put them together, they're both point guards. You can get in a situation where, okay, your turn, okay, my turn. And that Jason, and the guys even admitted in Jason's column that, yeah, there was some of that. They got to work their way out of it. It's totally natural. It's totally expected. And there were times where the ball got stagnant, especially late in the fourth quarter, and the rhythm of the passing wasn't there at times. But that is to be expected for a team that has added a superstar guard to go with an already really good team and another superstar guard. But even despite some of those moments, and despite the fact that they got very little from the bench, Kevin Love had a rare bad shooting day. Dean Wade didn't shoot well. In fact, the bench was a combined 5 for 22 from the field. And despite all of that, the Cavs still, in overtime, beat the defending Eastern Conference champs, as I said, for the second time in what, I think it was 5 days, 6 days, whatever it was last Friday, I believe, that they won in Boston. After the game, I can't remember if I read this in Jason's column now or if I read it in just the game write-up. There was a quote from, I think it was from Jaylen Brown, and he said that the Cavs play with you know what, it's a bad job out of me. I should have had the quote handy, but so I'm gonna get it. But what he said basically was, hey, if you want to beat the Cavs, you got to bring it every night because they're playing with a ton of intensity right now. They want it bad. I'm gonna try to find this quote. Let's see. I think I have it here. Here we go. It was Jaylen Brown, and it was in the game write-up. It said, they're hungry and they want to make some noise. When you play against them, you've got to come ready to play. I'll tell you that. I mean, the Cavs are very quickly, starting to earn a lot of respect. Now, we don't want to get crazy. It's early. We're 2 weeks and change into the season. You don't win championships in October and November. I think most of us are realistic about that. But no matter how optimistic you were about this team heading into the season, your optimism level has got to be higher. Mine was pretty high. It's even higher now. Obviously, they've got a ton to prove. This team has never won a playoff game. They've never, the play-in is technically not considered the playoffs. So this team hasn't been to the playoffs, and a lot of these individual players haven't been to the playoffs. Obviously, Jared Allen has, and Donovan Mitchell has, and certainly Kevin Love has. But as a team, as a group, they haven't. So they're going to have to get that experience. But that's and it'll be a different game there, as we saw last year in the play-in. However, that's a long way down the road. And this team it's going to be so much fun. And that's why I don't want to harp on the playoffs right now, because who cares? The playoffs are months from now. It doesn't matter. Right now, no matter what happens at the end, this team, like the Guardians this season, the journey is going to be so much fun. It seems like they have so much fun playing together. I think I've said that, every time I've talked about the Cavs in the last couple of weeks, and maybe I'm a broken record on that. I apologize if I am, but it's just so noticeable how much these guys like playing together. As I said, they've won 6 in a row after losing their opener to Toronto. They have the second best record in the Eastern Conference, only behind Milwaukee at 7-0, tied with Phoenix out west for the second best record in all of the NBA. They're the 2 seed in the East. I know it's a little silly saying that right now, but they're doing a lot of things right. They're playing not all the time. There've been moments they haven't, but they're playing really well on both sides of the ball, and they're very what's the word I'm looking for? Not flexible, interchangeable at times. Some, not all their players, but some are very interchangeable in terms of defense. And it puts them in a position where even if you make a mistake, you have Mobley and Allen to clean it up. And this year, the Cavs are to the point now, and especially coming off of last season, the way they played and getting Donovan Mitchell, that you're really excited when they play the really good teams. Now, we don't know. There's some teams that we think are very good that maybe they're not going to be as good this year, and vice versa. But usually, going into an NBA season, barring significant injury, you have a good feel for who's going to be good and who's not. And so far, the Cavs have played 4 games, 3 teams against teams that we think are good, or at least pretty good. And that's Toronto, Chicago, and 2 games with Boston. And they have obviously more than held their own. They win both Boston games in overtime. They lost a tight one to Toronto, but we know that Darius Garland didn't play in the second half of that one. and they just destroyed Chicago for their first win of the year back a couple weeks ago. So now you head into a stretch where the Cavs have a long road trip, and I think every team, and again, it's early, and we know Golden State's really good. They're just not playing great basketball right now. But I believe that this road trip, which I think is 5 games, I think every team they're playing on this road trip is under 500 right now. Let's see. They're at Detroit tomorrow night. Then they go out west. The Lakers have been awful. They play the Lakers on Sunday. They play back-to-back in L.A., Sunday, Monday, Lakers-Clippers. I think the Clippers are right at 500, I believe. But the Lakers have been terrible. The Pistons have been terrible. They have some nice young players, but they're a bad team. And then you got Sacramento. They're bad. And then Golden State. Now, Golden State's they're not, obviously, we know Golden State's a really good team. They're just not playing particularly well right now. I'm not watching them play. I've watched them play a little bit, but I don't know why they're playing so poorly. They've actually lost 3 in a row. And one of those losses was to the Pistons. But anyway, and they got Orlando tonight. But it'll be interesting to see how this road trip goes, because even though those teams aren't playing great, we know the Warriors are a really good team. We know the Clippers are a really good team, and the Warriors are defending champs. It doesn't go away because they got off to unlike the Cavs, the Warriors don't have anything to prove in the beginning of the season. They're finding their way. So if they win that game, if the Cavs go to Golden State, win that game, I don't care what Golden State's record is right now, that's a big-time win. And then after that, they come home for just one game against Minnesota, and then they got to go right back on the road a few days later and play the team that's the best team in basketball right now, Milwaukee. So the next 2 weeks, some fun games. Again, it'd be fun. Even though the Lakers are bad, it'd be nice to see the Cavs go to LeBron and kick his ass. I mean, I think we'd all really want to see that. And then the Clippers the next night, good team. And then Golden State, and then Milwaukee. All of those games in the next 2 weeks, in the next 13 days. So this is fun. I mean, this is what we want. You want to be in the mix. You want to have a team that's fun to root for, that's likable, and that's exactly what this team is. So, again, great win, 114-113 in overtime. Kudos to everybody, and I mentioned this briefly before, but kudos to everybody that was in the arena, because you guys were awesome. The crowd was rocking. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And that was just watching on TV. Like I said, I can't wait to talk to Anthony, who was there. Or if any of you were there, give me your feelings for being at that game, because it was just, it was nuts. Absolutely nuts. I mentioned Garland's numbers. Donovan Mitchell did not have a great shooting night. A rare bad shooting night. He still scored 25, but it was on 27 shots. He had 4 rebounds and 6 assists. A steal, 2 blocks. So how about this? So Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, even though, again, Mitchell didn't have a great shooting night, but that's fine. It's going to happen sometimes. They combine they played, so the game was 53 minutes because of overtime, right? They combined to play 86 minutes. Okay? At least one of them on the floor at all times. And they took a ton of shots, obviously, but they spent the whole game, on the ball, and yet the two of them combined in 86 minutes had 18 assists and 1 turnover. 18 assists and 1 turnover from the two guys that mostly have the ball in their hands. Remarkable. They also combined for 54 points. They combined for 9 rebounds, which is a lot considering you have Jared Allen, Mobley, and LeVert. You don't think of him as a huge rebounder, but those 3 guys had 29 rebounds between them. Plus, the two of them had 4 steals and 2 blocks. And again, 1 turnover. I mean, that is just an 18-1 assist-to-turnover ratio for those guys. Is fantastic. Fantastic. So great performance overall. All right. I'm going to take a break. You know what? Before I take a break here, just one other thing I wanted to hit on. I think about um, looking forward with this team. And I don't want to talk playoffs yet, but when you looking forward with this team, you wonder, do they have the assets? And I got to talk more about this with Jason. Isaac Okoro's barely playing. I don't know what value he brings to the team. Obviously, he plays defense, but his offensive game is not developed. He made some strides last year, but on this team, he's not going to be able to develop his offensive game. And to be able to replace him with a Jay Crowder type of forward would be huge. Now, I don't know that the Cavs can get him. I don't know if Okoro has any value. I don't know if Jetty has any value. I know Jetty's been a nice contributor, but if you can get a better small forward, a significantly better and a little more well-rounded guy, you do it. I know, again, Jetty's had a nice role, but I'd trade him. If that's what it takes, I think the Cavs will trade him. So I'm thinking ahead a little bit. Again, I do want to stay in the moment because I'm having so much fun watching this team play. But it feels like if they add one more, you think about this, because you're going to get Ricky Rubio back at some point, right? Even if it's not till February. At some point, you will have a third guy, because obviously, Neto is a guy who's gotten some minutes, especially with Garland out. Now he's hurt, or I can't remember why he didn't play last night. I know it was an injury or something. I can't remember now. But you'd much rather have Ricky Rubio be that third guy, and he'll play. He was so good for this team. Plus, Mitchell and Garland both love him. And so, to me, it's absolutely, you're going to add him. Okay, so now you got Kevin Love, you got Wade, Robin Lopez will get some minutes here, and then Rubio. And if you added one more guy who's an upgrade from Okoro and Osman, and could have LeVert coming off the bench, oof. If you had like Love, Wade, LeVert, Rubio as your four key guys off the bench, because you added a Jay Crowder or a Jay Crowder-ish type player to the starting lineup, and then again Rubio, LeVert, Love, Wade as your next four guys, man, it's the ceiling for the Cavs seems pretty high right now. And if they could add that one more piece, a guy who could play both ways, who can make a shot, not scared to take a shot, they can add a guy like that at some point. There's no rush. There's no rush at all. But if they can, one more contributor at wing, man, could get even more exciting. All right, folks, I got to pause for a second. You got to try this. It's the Built Bar. Built Bar's new reimagined flavor: cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, coconut brownie topper, white chocolate peppermint granola. It's Built's take on the granola bar, so it's more filling and still insanely tasty. And candy cane brownie. How about that? Built Puffs, like biting into the universe's most delicious cloud. It's unbelievable to try all these new flavors or original flavors or whatever flavors you want. Go to Built.com today. Use the code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order right now. That's Built.com, BUILT.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON15. All right, I want to get to some other things here, including Thursday Night Football. I'm going to step away. I'm stepping away from the camera for a sec. No, maybe more like 12 seconds. I'll be right back. The bullpen with Adam the Bull. Okay, I'm back. I had to do the mic step away. But we are back. All right, tonight in the National Football League, obviously the Browns are off this week, but it gives an opportunity for fans to just, especially coming off a win, to kind of watch random games. Unfortunately, the first game of the week is a terrible one. And these Thursday night games in general have been awful. Amazon's got to be a little frustrated that they've paid a boatload of money to stream these games on Thursday night, and I love it. By the way, anybody complaining about the games being on Amazon, like I heard somebody the other day, I don't know who it was, and like, for crying out loud, it's 2022, all right? But I can't remember who it was, but the other day, somebody was complaining. I was listening to some show, not locally. It was something on Sirius, and some guy was complaining. He's like, I don't know where to find the game. I put on this channel, it's not there. I mean, it's 2022. We're all streaming all the time. Is it really that hard to find a freaking game on Amazon? Most, if you have, as long as you have Amazon, what's the big deal? If you don't have it, okay, I can understand complaining. But if you have it, it's not that complicated to find it. If you turn on Amazon Prime, it's right there on the front page. And the reason I like it, if you have a newer TV that's 4K capable, the game's in 4K. And I know some people are like, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? If you don't have, let me tell you something. I'm not going to say it's the same difference when we went from, from regular TV, standard definition TV to high def TV. Obviously, it's not that big a jump, but it's a pretty big jump from regular HD to 4K. If you've never seen 4K, I'm telling you, you watch a game in 4K, it feels like you're at the game. I mean, that's how ridiculous the picture is. It's a noticeable difference. So I love it. I love that the games are Amazon. I get it if you don't have it, but Amazon's got to be frustrated because these games have been just horrendous. And tonight, not much different. Eagles and Texans. Texans, probably the worst team in football. Well, they have the worst record. Let's see. The Texans are 1-5-1. Well, the Detroit Lions have actually a worse record at 1-6. I actually think the Texans are probably even worse than the Lions. The Texans are just all kinds of horrible. They have just a brutal quarterback situation with Davis Mills. They need a quarterback. And now they didn't trade Brandon Cooks. He's unhappy, and so they're already bad. And it looks like Brandon Cooks won't play. Nico Collins won't play tonight. Who are their two best receivers? They do have a nice young running back in Dameon Pierce. He's been really good. If you're a fantasy football player, you know who he is. If you're not, if you're just a Browns fan who doesn't play fantasy football, you probably don't know who Dameon Pierce is because he's on a bad team and he's a rookie. He's had a good season, but they stink. And obviously, the Eagles look pretty freaking legit right now. Jalen Hurts is playing like an MVP. They've run the ball well. They've played great defense. They got an elite wide receiver now, which has made a huge difference. Jalen Hurts is going to have to, obviously, like any unproven quarterback, is to prove it in the playoffs. He got to the playoffs last year, and he was awful in that first game. But this year, looks like a million times better quarterback than he was last year, where he was adequate. But this year, he looks like a star. So it's hard to believe the Texans will keep it close. I thought it was 14. Apparently it's 13.5. I mean, that's a game. It's tough to bet on a favorite when it's that big a favorite. To have a favorite of 2 touchdowns in the NFL is obviously very rare. And there's 2 huge favorites this week. Actually, 3 favorites of 12 or more points. You got the game tonight's the biggest line. As of now, it's the Eagles by 13. And the Eagles are a 13.5-point favorite on the road. So at home, they'd probably be, if this game were in Philadelphia, they'd probably be like an 18-point favorite, maybe more. But there are 2 other huge point spreads this week. The Bills also on the road are how good are the Bills that they're a 12.5-point favorite over a Jets team that's 5-3. Now, I think the Jets are a fraud 5-3, but they're not terrible. I know they've lost their top back, but their quarterback stinks. But the Bills are a 12.5-point road favorite against the Jets. And then the Sunday night game, the Chiefs are a 12.5-point favorite over the Titans. Man, the Titans get no respect. They always feel like a fraud because they can't throw the ball at all. Derrick Henry's also a little nicked up. Although our old buddy Dontrell Hilliard would be their starting back. He's played well for them when he's had an opportunity. Not that the Browns need him, but anyway, we'll get more of those games tomorrow. But, yeah, I mean, if I got to bet this game tonight, you got to bet the Eagles. I mean, obviously, you never know. We've all seen weird things. No matter how confident you were in the Browns on Monday Night Football, I don't think anybody thought the game was going to go the way. Even if you thought the Browns were going to win, I'm sure nobody realistically thought the game was going to go the way it did, and it did. We've seen that. This is the NFL. This is not college football where things like that happen once a year. This is the NFL where things like that happen once a week, if not more. So, anyway, I'll take the Eagles. I can't see a scenario where the Texans could stay in this game. Maybe, the Eagles turn the ball over. That's the only thing. If the Eagles just have a really off night, they turn the ball over, they take the Texans lightly, I guess. I just can't imagine. Even it's almost rare. It's so rare in the NFL to think one team really can't win a game. It's never a situation where like Ohio State's playing Northwestern and there's no chance. They play that game 100 times. Ohio State wins 100 times. The Eagles and Texans play 100 times. Maybe the Texans win 5 or 6. So I guess it's possible. Of course, it's possible Northwestern beats Ohio State. I just don't think it could ever happen. But, if the Texans won, not covered, because, you can cover 14 points. It's the NFL. But if the Texans won this game, of all the surprising things that have happened this year, and there's been a lot, including the Browns this past Monday. But if the Texans beat the Eagles tonight, that would definitely move up to the top of the list. So I'll take the Eagles minus the 13.5. Quick break and then some final thoughts to wrap it up right here. The bullpen, Adam the Bull. Make sure you're tuned in to today's Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, where myself, G. Bush, Tyvis Powell, and Jason Lloyd will be having a fantasy football coaches draft. Right, so we're gonna look at the 32 NFL coaches, and each of us are going to draft 4 coaches from the head coaching ranks, and it's going to be a snake draft, so we go 1 through 4, then 4 through 1 for 4 rounds. I think I'm picking third in the first round. And we're going to draft 4 coaches, 1 to be our head coach, 1 to be our OC, 1 to be our DC, and 1 to be our special teams coach. For me, the special teams coach is just going to be the coach I like most left on the board. So anyway, that should be a fun part, and maybe you folks can certainly jump in and send us some tweets or some messages in the YouTube chat. Please make sure you follow us on YouTube. Follow. Make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube, and you got to click the bell. You click the bell, you get alerts when the podcast comes out. You get alerts when the show comes out. You get alerts when we do post-game shows or breaking news shows, or we're just releasing videos for whatever reason. You get all that information. Also, if you want to become a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, it's $199 a month for not $199, $1.99 a month for the basic membership, and $4.99 for the coaches membership. And what that gives you, the coaches membership for less than $60 a year, gives you extra access to the show, extra content that we'll be doing. Now, we're not taking away nothing. Everything we're currently doing, the show, the podcast, that's all going to remain free on YouTube. But if you pay the extra to be a coach's membership, we're going to do bonus content that's just for the people that are members. So check it out. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Adam the Bull, Cameo Adam the Bull, AdamTheBull.com. I'll talk to you tomorrow right here in the bullpen with me, Adam the Bull. See ya.